Hello, my name is Mike, and in this video you join me in the 2020 Ford Explorer. Now this 6th generation Explorer had a really tough start. There were manufacturing defects, and any that were produced and sold to dealerships first had to get fixed before being allowed to sold to customers. But since then, Ford has fixed the problems, and the question now is this new Explorer any good? Well, let's go for a drive and find out. Under the hood of the Explorer, you have a few engine options. You can get a 3-liter V6 EcoBoost, a 3.3-liter V6 hybrid, or the base engine, which I have here. It's a 2.3-liter 4-cylinder EcoBoost. That's right, a 4-cylinder turbo in a 3-row SUV that weighs around 2,000 kilograms. Despite the fact that it's a small 4-cylinder engine, it packs a pretty good punch. It produces 300 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. That's pretty much in the same ballpark power figure as other 3-row SUVs with naturally aspirated V6 engines. However, while it is a pretty powerful engine, it's not without faults. Firstly, it's pretty loud. Whether it's at 1500 RPMs or even 3,000 or 4,000 RPMs when you're setting off from a stop, the engine is constantly making noise, and you will hear it inside the cabin. Secondly, putting such a small engine in such a big SUV means that it has to work harder to get all that mass moving off the line. And in doing so, it uses up a lot of fuel. On paper, it does have pretty good fuel economy ratings. It's rated for 8.7 liters per 100 kilometers on a highway and 11.6 liters per 100 kilometers in a city. However, in the real world, I have been struggling to reach those targets. On my combined average, I've been more or less around 12.5 to 13 liters per 100 kilometers. I'm sure that if you're very gentle off the line with the throttle and you have it in eco mode and you accelerate very slowly, maybe you can hit those targets. But you're also going to have quite a few angry people behind you and quite a few people tailgating you. This is why I think perhaps it's better for you to consider the more powerful V6 engines rather than this base 2.3-liter engine. Regardless of which engine you choose though, all of them are mated to a 10-speed automatic transmission in the Ford Explorer. It's the same 10-speed that was co-developed with General Motors and is found in other Ford and Lincoln vehicles. In GM vehicles, this transmission works well. It works well in other Ford vehicles as well. But for some reason in the 2020 Ford Explorer XLT with this 2.3-liter engine, the transmission is just awful. It's inconsistent because sometimes the shifts are smooth while other times they feel very rough. It also has a hard time deciding what gear it wants to be in when driving at slower speeds in a city, for example. But worst of all, there are 1 or 2 instances that I felt during a downshift where the shifts felt so rough that it felt like something broke in the transmission. It's odd that this transmission is so bad in the Explorer, whereas in other Ford vehicles like the Ranger, it's actually okay. But when the roads get twisty, you're in for a treat because this new Ford Explorer sits on an updated chassis that makes this 2-ton SUV pretty engaging to drive. It feels sure-footed and the steering is direct and responsive. To use an oxymoron, the Explorer feels light on its wheels despite its hefty weight. The new rear-wheel drive bias chassis also improves the towing capabilities of this SUV. Even with this 2.3-liter engine, the 2020 Explorer can tow up to 5,300 pounds. As for the interior, it's a bit of a mixed bag. There are some good quality materials like on the dashboard and on the door panels, and even these seats, they are superbly comfortable. However, with one hand that gives, another one takes, because some of the fit and finish inside here isn't really the greatest. I mean, around the screen, for example, there's massive gaps. Around these two trim pieces right here in the center, more massive gaps. And down here on the center console, it just doesn't really align properly. However, it is all very well laid out. There are very simple buttons on the steering wheel for the cruise control and for the driver display in front of me. Touchscreen is very easy to reach, and there are climate control buttons further below it, which are very easy to use and very simple to understand. Down in the center console, I have quite a bit of storage right in front of the gear selector. I can even put my phone in this little slot here right next to the cup holders. Hopefully I don't spill anything on the cell phone, but it's there if you need it. And down here, just where the center console is, would be a wireless charging pad, but this is the base XLT, so no wireless charging, which is fine because I have a couple of USB ports right down there, so I can always plug my phone in, and I also have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. In terms of space, well, there's plenty of it up here in the front, plenty of legroom and plenty of headroom for my 6'4" stature. And even in the back seats in the second row, there is still enough space. The outboard seats, they do slide forwards and backwards, and they also recline. And getting into that third row, it's pretty easy. Just one lever, pop it forward, and you're in. And there's also quite a bit of room. It's actually more spacious in the back seats of this Explorer than in some of its competitors like the Toyota Highlander or the Kia Telluride. In terms of cargo volume, the Ford Explorer can accommodate 516 liters behind the third row, 1,357 liters behind the second row, and 2,487 liters behind the first row. The 2020 Ford Explorer comes standard with advanced safety and driver aids. However, it has a few optional advanced driver aids that are worth considering. The first is Intelligent Adaptive Cruise Control, which can read road signs and automatically adjust the adaptive cruise control speed limit without any driver input. The other is Evasive Steering Assist, which can quickly change lanes, if the lane to either side of the SUV is clear, in order to avoid a rear-ender collision. Of course, the 2020 Explorer can also be equipped with a lot of convenience features such as a panoramic sunroof, wireless phone charging, a 10.1-inch touchscreen, heated and ventilated front seats, power folding third row seats, and so on. But, as you guessed it, these options can significantly increase the price of the Explorer. The 2020 Ford Explorer starts at $45,200 Canadian for this XLT trim. However, if you're watching this in the United States, you have an even lower trim that starts at $32,675 American. Fully spec up the Explorer and the price can reach as high as $64,600 Canadian, which makes it one of the more expensive non-premium three-row SUVs on the market. In terms of how it looks, it's easily recognizable as a Ford Explorer. It has a striking grille in the front and comes standard with LED headlights. However, they're quite dimmer than I was expecting for LED headlamps. Around back, the Explorer receives new taillights and exhaust pipes that are hidden behind the bumper. Thankfully, the design of the rear is similar to the last generation, so you can still spot an undercover police Explorer from quite a distance. At the time that I'm filming this, I have not driven the V6 version of the Explorer, but I can tell you that this 2.3 EcoBoost with the 10-speed automatic is awful. Avoid it. If you are looking for a three-row SUV around the $40,000 to $45,000 price range, Canadian money that is, take a look at the Toyota Highlander and maybe even the Kia Telluride. Those are much better three-row SUVs. This one, it just feels like it's incomplete. Maybe a bit more R&D, they could have made it better. If you want to know more about the 2020 Ford Explorer, I wrote a comprehensive review of it over on my website. You can find the link in the video description. And stick around to the end of this video and check out the review that I did of the Toyota Highlander. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next car or truck or probably another SUV. Take care.